Well, greetings everyone. It's time to bring you up to speed on some of the things that have been happening here during the month of June. As probably many of you know, the month of June is often one of the more quiet months in terms of public outreach at least, because it's a time when we're generally making preparations for our upcoming July conference, which is going to be beginning here July 20th. This particular period prior to the conference has been not quite as quiet as we might have liked. In fact, it has been outright noisy. My father had an expression. He said, "There's always something, but you can depend that there is never nothing." So we had a lot of something happen here very recently, and I should probably begin by just bringing you up to speed on that one, because it's something that has really affected our campus quite strongly. A week ago from the time I'm recording this, which is to say July 1st, on Sunday, we had a very strong and unexpected storm pass through this area. There actually is a particular name for this type of storm. It's a Spanish name, and it's derecho. So it's a derecho windstorm, which means a straight wind storm. And it's called that because very strong, very straight winds blow through the area. Our winds were actually clocked at up to 100 miles an hour here in Wheaton, which is hurricane force. So it had all the effects you might expect with something so powerful as a hurricane. Just to let you know how it happened, I was actually out of town at the time that it struck. When I got back, I joked that I really do know how to pick times to get away, don't I? But of course I would have much rather have been here. But I had been talking to my wife, Skype actually, and I was talking to her and she brought the computer outside. This was at about noon, and was showing me outside of the house where my daughter had just had a little get-together the night before. And she was showing me the decorations and pointed it up toward the tree so I could see the clear blue sky. Now this was on that Sunday. 40 minutes later, I got a call back from her to tell me that both she and my daughter had gone down to the basement to find shelter from this raging storm that had blown in that 30, 40 minutes since I had last talked to her. The sky was completely blackened, and trees and limbs were snapping and falling all around her. So the upshot of all of this was that in the area, these 100-mile-an-hour winds had the effect of knocking out electricity for more than 250,000 people in our area. Our campus was completely blacked out, no electricity anywhere. In addition to this, it occurred at a time when we were having, as we still are, up until at least yesterday when it broke, a very extended heat wave with temperatures at and occasionally above 100 degrees every day. We had 97 on some nice cool days. But right at this time, when we had no air conditioning, no fans, no refrigeration, it was right in that same time. Power was out completely on our campus for 2 days when they finally managed to restore it to at least the main building, the Rogers building, at which time many of the people whose homes had been blacked out moved into the Rogers building so that we could at least have everybody cooled and away from such dangerous sorts of heat conditions. So we were lucky in a sense. I mean, we're lucky that nobody was injured, and that even with all of the trees that were downed, that none of them did any damage to any of the buildings even, which was really remarkable with so many trees falling. And those of you who will be coming to our summer conference beginning on the 20th of July will see firsthand some of the effects. We're hoping to have some of these dead limbs and dead trees carted away by then, but of course the way the thing is going, they've had to bring in tree companies from the neighboring 5 states to try and keep up with this extreme amount of damage. And so if they get the trees carted away, we'll be very fortunate. If not, it's probably going to take some more time. But you'll be able to see firsthand exactly what it is that has happened to the campus. So just so you can see a little bit of what this storm looked like, here are some different film clippings that people in the area had taken, both of the storm as it was raging and also of its very, very swift and ominous approach. This particular film was one that someone had taken, and it's done in time lapse, but you can see how very, very quickly the sky darkened, and the storm didn't last that long, 15-20 minutes, but in its wake came all of this damage to the trees and to the grounds and to the occasional car on the Alcott campus. Remarkably, none of the buildings were damaged, and at the Shrine for Mother Mary, a candle that was lit prior to the storm was still burning after the 100-mile-an-hour winds had left. A lot of damage was done, but quite fortunately, no one was hurt. We have a long way to go still in our cleanup process. On June 1st, we had the commencement ceremonies for the Prairie School of DuPage, which many of you who have been following these video blogs and perhaps reading some of our magazines would be familiar with. So the kids had their ceremony of moving up, which was attended by many of our staff here. It's quite an enjoyable occasion, of course. The kids sang, they did a little play, they had designed the sets for their play, and it was all quite wonderful. They played some music with flutes. They had their awards presentations for the little kindergartners that were moving up to first grade. So all in all, it was quite an enjoyable occasion and event. My wife Lily was particularly moved by the ceremony because
we have this very special friend, the children call her Miss Lily, and we thought Miss Lily would know what to do with these flowers. So the children would like to present these to Miss Lily, and we know she'll take good care of them.
At one point they had a brief part of the ceremony where each one of the kids presented Lily with a flower and gave her a hug. It was really quite special and quite moving.
Miss Lily, how about that?
Also in early June, we had an annual event here in the Wheaton community. Each year they have something called the Taste of Wheaton, which is a very well-attended, popular event here locally. And it's one of those things where they have food and they have different sorts of businesses in the area. And we set up a tent there every year. And so we did that again this year. It's an opportunity for us to display some of our literature and give away some pamphlets, and then also give away some books that we have. And also just to get to talk to and meet some of our neighbors. And so this year was no exception. It's a wonderful little occasion. It's only one day, but you meet a lot of people who have passed through our doors, and you meet probably even more who have not, who have driven by and seen our place, but then really don't know too much about what it is, haven't ever really set foot in here. So very often we find ourselves introducing ourselves to people who have been around and been seeing us for years, and this year was no exception. We had a number of different people who were taking care of the booth during the course of the day, and so just a couple of them. During my particular shift, it was me and Elvira and Sharon. James Lefevre was involved, Chris Bolger, and I'm forgetting I'm forgetting a number of the names because it was a number of people. It's always a lovely group effort. Later on in the month, the Order of the Round Table, which is headed up by Mark and Kim Remich. Mark, as I have said a little bit earlier, and you probably hear his name pop up frequently within these little reports, is the head of our grounds and maintenance. But they have an annual campout. This year it actually fell on June 16th, going into the 17th. So it was the eve of Father's Day, which, at least in my household, at least due to the lobbying that has been done on my daughter, she's aware that that's one of the most important days of the year. So it wasn't slighted with the campers either. They had stories being told. It was more than 20 kids and their parents, and a whole bunch of fathers turned out to pitch the tents and to go through the whole camping and bonding that always comes as a part of that. They had campfires, they roasted marshmallows, they had s'mores, and they shared around the campfire in really profound and just very meaningful sorts of stories and sharings that the kids and the parents engaged in that evening. So it was really a fun time for all who were there. So they woke up the next morning. They had a nice little thunderstorm during the course of the night to kind of give a little bit of relevance to some of those ghost stories that I'm sure had been told. But it was a lovely event, and it's an annual one. So for those of you who are in the area, who feel like coming out and pitching a tent, keep your eyes posted for Mark's announcement as those things come up. It's a wonderful occasion for the kids. Finally, I'd like to tell you about a special project that is just about to wrap up. Probably will be wrapped up by the time I complete this little video selection. Probably many of you might be aware that we have a number of volunteers that are associated with the work that we do here. We have some very exceptional people with exceptional skills, and a lot of people who are just deeply devoted to what it is we're doing and who want to help in a variety of ways. As we go forward with these particular video blogs, I'm going to get a chance to introduce you to some of them. But today I'd like to talk particularly about something that's going on in our library. Probably you have heard or read in some of our publications about our children's collection, which was really became quite strong during the time that Marina Maestas was with us as head librarian. And Dan Smola has taken it, and he has taken it up a notch. He's actually having children's programs that are held in our library during the course of the year. It's always over in the children's section, which for those of you who know our library, if you walk in, it's straight to the back of the library. He had the thought, in conjunction with my wife Lily, about making it a place that's more inviting to children. So Lily got in touch with a new member to the Theosophical Society and a longtime friend, Gianna Waddell, about painting a mural. So Gianna came in, and on multiple trips out from Chicago, she, assisted by Valerie Lanotte, who is capable of doing just about anything I have found, took to applying the paint and doing the mural on the wall. It's about a 15-foot expanse of wall, which has 2 windows in it. And really what they did was this marvelous wooded scene that really gives the impression of looking out the window into the wooded sort of glade that is behind the library. Watching her do it, I was amazed at every step. I thought at some point she was going to mess it up, but obviously I didn't know what she was about, because at each step when I would come back, we found that it was better than before. So it's something that they are wrapping up today. And so from this point on, you will be able to come and see this in the library. Those of you who are going to be here with us for our summer conference will be able to actually check in and take a look at it. So hope you enjoy this new addition to our children's section of the Alcott Memorial Library.